Okay, let's talk about linear regression. So a couple things that we need to know before we start doing any modeling or any calculations on this. So this first video will be more like on the things that we have to remember we should know before we're starting with linear regression. So the first thing we need to remember is that we are always working with two variables when it comes to a single linear model. So these two variables are x and y. X will be your predictor, also called as independent variable, independent. And then y will be your response variable, also known as dependent variable. Now, a cool way that I always kind of want to think about this is, think of y as looking at x and kind of say, I depend on you. Kind of cool. I depend on you to change. Now, we're going to talk about correlation and causation later on, but for now, just remember that the y variable depends on the x variable to change. Okay, so that's one thing. The second thing that we have to be aware of when doing this single predictor linear regression is we're also working with two data sets of same length. Okay, so if your X data set has, say, 50 data points, okay, your Y data set should also have 50 data points. And that's just because when we are actually building the model, we wanted to look at the Y-axis and the X-axis, and we're going to need to find for each Y value match with an X. So we will find one point here that it's the intersection between X and Y, and then maybe another point here, and so on and so forth. So if you don't have that same length of data set, you will not work. And then the third thing was the final thing on just the kind of the reminders, is that the general equation for the linear is y is a plus b times x, and this will be the y, of course, is my response or dependent variable. And then my a will be my intercept. So that number will come out of the equation, but this is a constant. That's not going to change based on b, that is the slope. We're going to learn how to calculate that. And then, of course, x is your predictor or your independent variable. So those are the things that we want to keep in mind before we start doing any data analysis or any regression and before we start building the model. We'll talk more in the next video.